What's up? How you doing? It's me back again, Analog Attack. Welcome to episode 11 of Iron Maiden. Morning, Chris.
How you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm excited, actually.
You got a new haircut. You look good.
Yeah. Summer's here. I'm excited. I'm excited for this episode. You're excited too, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm, uh, yeah. This one has a special place in my heart.
This didn't for me, but it does now for sure, without giving too much away. Um, yeah, so we're talking about Somewhere in Time.
Whoa, what do you have there? A UK
Well,
pressing?
actually, this is a UK original, and then for some reason, I also have the Parlophone as well.
That recent one?
Yeah, which I read some complaints about it. I didn't hear them. There's like a couple of dropouts apparently in here somewhere. Very,
Maybe it was just one set of plates or something.
it could be. Yeah, mine seems okay. And then the pièce de résistance is the old
Oh, there it is. You
Japanese.
saved the best for last.
It's actually not complete. It's missing a sticker,
Ah,
and if that sticker is in there, like it goes up by like 40 or $50 just for having that sticker in there. But it's got a 7-inch bonus 7-inch, but it's just an interview. Not that exciting, but it's just lovely. It's got a huge poster in there as well. So
I
really,
once had a Christian Death album with
cool.
a whole sheet of Christian Death stickers.
Yeah,
It was in the VAP Positive Punk series.
that's a good
I
series.
bet you've seen those.
And I've got a record that has stickers in it too. I forget which one it is, but that was kind of a thing in Japan, I guess, those stickers and little extras that you couldn't get anywhere else. So 1986, Somewhere in Time. What were you? I always ask you this, but what were you doing? What were you doing in 1986?
Mike, I began my journey through the American education system in 1986. I was in
Right,
kindergarten. I was not familiar with Iron Maiden, and
right.
but I was familiar with Saturday morning cartoons, which, as I said last time, to
Yeah.
me this is very appealing to a young boy,
Yes. Yeah.
a young child, I should say,
Mm.
because it looks like a Saturday morning cartoon or a comic book. Well, what were you up to in
Well, I
1986?
was
You
19,
remember?
19, 19 years old, kind of living in a punk squat, and actually, this was the record that I was all about in that year. Came out late 85, but 1986, it was all about Amoebics, Arise for me. Important record in that year.
Were you hanging out with those guys?
Later, actually, like years later, I ended up living in the same town as a few of them. But yeah, so that was 1986. But Chris, 1986 was pretty fine year for heavy metal.
Quite a year.
It's funny though, because as we go through the 80s, I was thinking, well, once we get to 86, 87, 88, it's not going to be quite as good. Not true. I mean, actually, I've got more records, I think, today than I have like for any other episode so far.
Let's see it, because I have something to add at the end, but I think it'll maybe put it into perspective a little more.
Okay.
But
So everybody, please bear with us. These are all records that came out in the same year as Somewhere in Time. And let's kind of imagine the year in heavy metal and what was going on and how this album relates to these records. Do they sound the same? Is there some similarities for any of these records? Let's have a look. I've got a lot. So Tony Iommi was back with his band, Black
yep,
Sabbath.
the best album 1986.
Ooh, controversial opinion.
I believe I gave it an 8 in our Black Sabbath last. I am wearing a TYR shirt, Mike, so I'm very sympathetic
Yeah,
to the lost year.
So Black Sabbath, Seventh Star came out in 1986. A bit more punky. Beowulf,
Ah, yeah.
classic. Where are they from? Suicidals.
They're from Venice Beach,
That's it. Venice Beach. Yeah. Crossover hardcore
the
punk.
West Coast Motorhead, thrash metal Motorhead.
Yes, great record. And then the Seas are quite captivating. Crumbsuckers,
Yep.
which reminded me, actually in 1986, my roommate had this album and I loved it in 1986 too, and it still sounds as good today as it did back then.
Some people don't like it. I don't understand that. I think Stone Cold classic.
It's a classic, but that's for another day. And then Cryptic Slaughter.
Yep.
Very raw, hardcore, thrash, punk, thrash. Good record.
Yeah, might not be heavy metal, but important to heavy metal.
Well, Wikipedia listed it, so it must be true. Cro-Mags.
The Kings of Controversy.
What? Amoebics and Cro-Mags in one episode. How about that? There you go. Moving
What else you got?
along.
And a Bill Cosby LP.
Moving swiftly along. We had One Foot in Hell, as did
Yeah, all right.
in 1986. Fine record.
Yeah.
Of course. Do you like this one? I love it, actually. Crimson Glory.
Yeah.
First LP. Some good.
That's one that I had my eyes peeled for a while, but you know, I haven't got a hold of it.
It's a good heavy metal record. Here's a Doom classic. Candlemas, Epicus,
Sure.
Doomicus, Metallicus. Think about it. This is all the same year as Somewhere in Time, right?
And all the same letter as well. Or well, not as Somewhere in Time, but these are all in the C section.
Yeah. Moving.
Sorry, man.
We're getting into the D's now.
All right. Okay.
One that you like. I know you're a big fan
Yep.
of.
You know, you're a big fan of Detente.
Can't recognize no authority. Fenrir's a big fan as well. Another one I think you like. Dark Angel. Darkness Descends.
My absolute favorite.
There you go. See, what a great year. Germany. Death Row. Riders of Doom.
What a year for thrash metal.
Right? Teutonic thrash. Fate's Warning. Not only an Iron Maiden song, but also a group. Look at that. Look at that.
Gorgeous.
See, that's beautiful. Beautiful sleeve. Beautiful record. Awaken the Guardian. Back to the thrash. Flotsam and Jetsam.
Yep.
Doomsday. I love this record. It's fantastic.
Really? You're the first person I've ever met to say that.
Come on.
I'm not saying it's bad or anything. I'm just saying, like, I've never heard anybody like really go to bat for it.
Really? Oh man, I will. It
Cool.
just features Jason Newsted now with Metallica. There you go.
That's a fact.
Girls' School are still with us. I like this.
Nightmare, yeah.
They're doing like glam rock in 1986. It's so cool. Come on, it's fair play to them.
It's not their best, but you know, we love them.
Yeah,
we love them here.
We do. Big fans. Big fans. We're not Iron Maiden fans, but we're Girls' School fans. There you go. Hallows Eve.
Yeah, second one.
Classy, kind of classy thrash. German, Holy Moses.
Oh
Queen.
yeah, that's a wild one. Switzerland.
Germany or Switzerland.
German. Okay.
Great vocal.
Yeah.
Kind of similar to Dawn Crosby, a caustic, like female.
I think it's even crazier than Don Crosby.
Right. I think so too. Or about halfway through. King Diamond.
Solo debut.
Fatal Portrait. There you go. Nice close up. There, staying with the K's. Creator. Pleasure to Kill.
Yep. Another thrash landmark.
German classic. Back to the States. Metal Church, second LP, The Dark. Great heavy metal record. Staying in the States. Manila Road. Deluge. Another great record. The Big M's. Megadeth.
Yep.
Pete Sells. And the other Big M. Metallica. Master of Puppets. Or another Big M, actually. British Big M. Motorhead.
They're back after a little while.
Yeah. There you go. Nuclear Assault. Game Over. More thrash. American thrash. Ozzy Osbourne was with us with his Ultimate Sin. Back to the UK. Onslaught. We're out with The Force.
And that's your favorite Onslaught?
Yeah, I think I said that, didn't I? Yeah.
I believe so.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. More thrash. Possessed. Which,
gosh, what a year for thrash metal, huh?
Right? And I don't even have all of them. They're just the ones that are in my collection. Queensryche. Power Metal. Classic.
Yeah.
Punk and Doom.
Queensryche, make sure make sure we talk about Queensryche in the Seventh Son episode because they're an important part of that story.
All right.
We're going to be hearing from them again, folks.
All right. Stay tuned for more Queensryche. St. Vitus. Punky Doom. This is cool. Our mate Satan was still on the scene. Looking into the future.
That's the revamped version of the band.
Going back to a little bit kind of punk. Yes, Samhain. Or did I pronounce that correctly? How are you supposed to pronounce it?
I believe if you were a true pagan, you would say Soin.
There you go. I'm not. So Samhain.
It's just Sam.
Savage Grace. After
really, that record's from '86.
Yeah.
I think of it as being earlier. Well,
yeah, crazy, right?
Wikipedia said so.
What more do I need to say about this? Slayer, Rain Blood.
The guys in Anthrax must be so pissed they didn't put out a record in '86 because it's like they all have like landmark albums in. Exactly. They must feel left out.
I'm putting these two together. This fascinates me, and I actually have to triple check to see if I was correct. So 1986, we've got, actually, I'll show this one first. So Voivod, right? Second LP, Raw, right? And it is Raw. It's still Raw. They haven't really developed yet too much. But this band, also Canadian, from Montreal, Sacred Blade, like the sun, between the sun and the moon. This sounds like Voivod would be like two or 3 years later. It's crazy. From Montreal. And everybody,
I never picked that up. I always just thought it was kind of. I just assumed it was like power metal.
I really like.
Not like that.
No, I mean a little bit, but it's real like sci-fi, progressive. It's a classic. So everybody, Sacred Blade.
Interesting.
Top tip recommendation. So it's weird that like these two come out in the same year. I had to double check that. Whiplash, Power and Pain, more thrash. Yep. Heavy Metal, Wasp were out with
Electric Circus.
The Electric Circus. And then I kind of saved this one till last because we might bring it up again later.
I think it has to be mentioned.
Judas Priest, Turbo. We'll kind of do some comparisons maybe with Somewhere in Time. So, what a year, eh? What a year.
Well,
more, Chris.
I've just brought a couple things, but I thought, were we going to talk about this later?
I forgot to get it out. Yeah, good call.
It is a little forgettable. Yeah. The first Battle Zone record came out. This is Paul Di'Anno's Battle Zone. And he has guys from Tokyo Blade and a dude from Tokyo Blade was in Deep Machine. Oh, wow. And he has another guy who was in Touchstone, which was like Deep Machine related.
Okay.
And then there's a guy that was later in Overkill. So it's not as off-brand as it first seems. But at this point, this is like the third new Paul Di'Anno band since leaving Iron Maiden.
That's right. Yeah.
Because he did Gog Magog, which was like this failed sort of heavy metal Meatloaf type project with Yannick Gers, who we'll be talking about. Well, we've talked about, but we'll hear from him again.
Yeah.
Clive Burr, also departed from Maiden, plus Neil Murray from Whitesnake, and also of this great album.
Yeah.
And Pete Willis from Def Leppard.
Yeah.
So Paul Di'Anno's been busy, man. But the other shit that I grabbed is 1986 is a year when all these records came out. So Lords of the Crimson Alliance, Exorcist, Original Sin, the second Pile Driver record, the Convict record, and the Phantom Lord record. The reason that some of these share members, actually, there's most of them do.
Yeah,
those are all fake bands. My point being, 1986, like the market is so interested in heavy metal. There's like so much demand for heavy metal that they're just making fake bands. They're just having guys in the studio on the weekend to like bullshit some records,
right?
And so that they can sell them because there's just not enough. And based on how many we saw from you already, that's a crazy fucking that's insane.
I mean, these are just ones that I own. I mean, imagine there's hundreds and thousands, maybe more.
There's so many, and yeah, I really like all those records, except the Convict record sucks. It's the guy from Pile Driver, but it's more street metal and less I don't know, whatever, less bondage metal. But I don't like. I think that's significant that all those came out that year, and like that's like the commercialization level.
Yeah,
pretty good year.
Pretty good year. Like, it's funny because in 1986 there was only a few of those that I was kind of familiar with. Metallica, we had Crumbsuckers, we had that was about it, I think, honestly, that I was kind of aware of, that I remember. But those two, Megadeth as well, definitely.
No Slayer?
Slayer, oh yeah, sorry, Slayer as well, yeah. But Metallica more so. We loved that record in the squad. And someone had a copy of it on vinyl, so it got a lot of play with Amoebics, and yeah, that was cool. And Crumbsuckers as well, yeah.
So, I like that Crumbsuckers made the cut in the squat.
Yeah. Me too. They deserved it. Okay, let's have a look at Derek Riggs' handiwork. This took him like 4 months, I think, to get this together.
Well, it's nice they let him finish.
Yeah. I think it's not my favorite Derek Riggs cover, but it's probably the best.
I would say it's not my favorite, but it's the most fun to look at.
Oh man, I mean, my eyes are pretty bad. Well, you could do like a whole episode on just this cover, right? The Easter eggs that are in here and the things that you see. And what sticks out for you, Chris, at first glance?
There's obviously like a bunch of cars and stuff that are pulled out of Blade Runner, and the pyramid stuff in the back. I think it's supposed to reference Power Slave, but also there is like a huge pyramid structure in Blade Runner. So that's sort of the foundation. But as I was saying to you before, there's a few different bars and clubs on here, like the Rainbow, which is a very famous bar in LA, L'Amour, which was a very famous New York bar. You know, you see lots of guys wearing L'Amour shirts, but there's also Hammerjacks. You can't see it, the glare is there. So there's a vertical Hammerjack sign, and Hammerjacks was a like a metal bar in Baltimore, about an hour from where I grew up. And there'd be radio ads, you know, every night for whatever was coming up at Hammerjacks. And I looked and I read that they used to stop there on tour and just hang out and drink. And I never knew that. That's really cool, because that's relatively, you know, close to where I would have been at the time. Right. But yeah, this is so fucking cool. Like, I mean, you can listen to the record and look at this jacket the whole time, you know, while you're laying on the floor or whatever.
I know, just obvious things like the, you know, 2358 on the digital clock, and then, you know, being a fish and chips lover, the ancient mariner, like seafood restaurant. And then I don't know if you're a soccer fan, but like Upton Park is on that's like West Ham's soccer ground, football ground. And then
I see West Ham and Arsenal are noted on here.
Yeah, and then to the left of that we've got Bradbury Towers, right? See Bradbury Towers?
Yes, I do.
And above that there's some Japanese writing, right?
Okay.
That's a guy called Akira Asada, who was like a famous Japanese philosopher. He went pretty deep with this, right?
I mean, it's impressive. You know, you got like the Doctor Who TARDIS, and you got there's probably Charlotte the Harlot and the red light window there. Ruskin Arms is on here. Like, even when you look like way down the street and you see the little HMV logo, and then it really is cool.
There's the little black cat from like Live After Death, like down here. It's like
you got Bruce is holding the brain.
Yes. Just to like the cartoon, or whatever we want to call it, the drawing of Iron Maiden always reminds me of this. Doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's kind of similar, right?
It has it's something about the faces look just a little bit weird. But I like that. I like that it has a little bit of a rough edge to it.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely amazing. And he kind of said that he'd
also, Adrian's hair is totally the wrong color. Adrian's hair is like silvery black.
It is, yeah.
I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, lots of Blade.
Oh yeah, and all this Blade Runner shit, it has like the Tyrell Corporation. Oh man, they just don't make them like this anymore, Mike.
They don't, Chris. They don't. And if they tried, they would fail, right?
I'm afraid so. Do you like cybernetically enhanced Eddie?
Oh, you know what?
How do you feel about this,
kind of
Eddie?
It's like you don't really even notice it. I think it's so well done that it's like, yeah, I'm fine with it. I'm just the way it's done. I always start here. You kind of, you're back in Acacia Avenue, back in the 80s. You start here and then you kind of just walk past here and then you're in the future or whatever.
Man, I really wish this had been a cartoon. I would have loved this cartoon.
Oh man, Saturday morning. Saturday mornings with Maiden. Yeah, so that's the cover. Amazing stuff from Derek Riggs. So, as usual, we want to talk a little bit about the production. I have a feeling you might have a lot to say about this.
Well, it's different. It's so they recorded the drums and the bass at Compass Point Studios again, and then they did the rest at someplace in Holland.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I mean, the drums and the bass really don't sound very different from the last couple of records. No. I would almost say the drums sound like maybe a little more raw than Power Slave. Like it really, you'd like hear the room a lot. This is 1986, so I'm thinking of like, at this point in like mainstream music, you'd had like, like the very produced Aussie stuff, Def Leppard, the first wave of the sort of LA glam stuff, and like a lot of that has like really like artificial sounding drums. They're like what they call gated. So it's like you hear it like hit like with a big echo, but then the echo is cut off by a gate. Or sometimes, like in the case of Def Leppard Pyromania, most of the drums are actually sampled and then programmed and mixed with live drums. And there's like all this artificiality that was like common, like specifically to the drums of the time on most metal records. And this, like, especially because of the way the rest of the stuff sounds, the drums are actually like a lot more. Every time I listen, I'm like, God, it just sounds like, the drums sound like Zeppelin 4 or something,
Like, we showed Motorhead Orgasmatron. That production doesn't sit right with me, and I think it kind of spoiled the album for me a bit. But with Somewhere in Time,
like it either.
Somewhere in Time is perfect. It just works so well on this record. But Judas Priest were using a lot of the kind of same technology too, right? And what went wrong?
I don't believe so. Like, okay. It's interesting because it's like about here where Priest and Maiden kind of become like these like they're like very easy to compare. And because they do a lot of the same things over the next few years to varying results.
Right.
I don't believe that the drums are real on Turbo. I know they're fake on Ram It Down. I'm pretty certain that none of the drums on Turbo are real. I just think they're straight up programmed, which is weird because then they went back out on the road with Dave Holland.
Right.
But I don't know. I guess Def Leppard did that too. So the Priest record is like really synthetic sounding.
Yeah.
Really pop oriented. And it still sounds like Priest, but like Priest is like more of a chameleon band, like at least through the 80s. After that, it's a little different.
Yeah.
But Maiden is kind of like always Maiden. And so even when Maiden's like adding like weird new textures, because like, I mean, anybody's watching this has heard this record anyway, but
yeah,
the big story is that they got guitar synthesizers.
Yeah.
So they're not really using keyboards. They're using these things. They look like guitars. They play like guitars, but there's like a, piece of technology that translates it into like synthesizer notes. And that's where you get like all those kind of like sort of futuristic guitar textures on top of everything.
Why do they sound so why do they sound so good, Chris? Why do they not really, why do they, you know what I mean? It's like, why do they still sound good today? It kind of does sound a bit dated, but it still sounds futuristic too. I mean, how?
So it does sound of the time, right? Like you hear that and you're like, well, this must be the second half of the 1980s. Yeah. But, I mean, they had Martin Birch. Like, I don't really think he was going to let something out the door that sounded chintzy. And spoiler, when we talk about the records that are self-produced by this band, it's clear that they are not really able to like maintain that level of quality. And I think also like, obviously, so I mean, like the whole like album art is like Blade Runner influenced. Like there's like a song about time travel. I feel like they went into this and they were kind of trying to like bring in this like new futuristic fantasy edge. And like they had like a clear mandate, and so they were like, well, what sounds futuristic? Well, these like weird guitars that were, I don't think they were made by Casio. I think they were probably made by Roland or something like that. I've seen pictures of the things they used on the album. And I don't know, like they still sound kind of cool, and like it is kind of a tactile technology because they're still bending strings and stuff. Like I don't know why, I don't know why it works, but it works. It works with the mood of the album too, and also like it's a little bit of, so this is a record about being depressed, and those give it like a colder sheen, right? Like it sounds colder. Like you think of Power Slave and you think of like those songs like The Duelists and Flash of the Blade and Aces High, like very exciting, very high energy. This record starts with like these like mournful guitar synths, guitar, just like,
man, I wrote
just tugging at your heart, and
I wrote exactly the same thing for my notes on the first song actually, but we'll get to that. And it reminds me of something which I'll bring up when we get to the songs. It's really, really similar, and maybe some of the viewers who are watching will be familiar with this, what I'm going to talk about, but same feeling.
I think the actual the guitars, the non-synth guitars, also have I mean, so they definitely sound more like the guitars of the 80s. Power Slave, Peace of Mind, Number of the Beast. That's like a pretty timeless Marshall guitar sound. These are like, they have some echo added. There's like a little bit of flange going on most of the time. They sound a little more like contemporary for the time, a little bit dated now. Reminds me of like actually, just reminds me of like the guitars you'd hear on like an Aussie record, or like Scorpions, or like, any of the bigger bands from that time that were doing like more commercial side of metal. Whereas like Metallica, Slayer, those have like gritty, like very real guitar sounds, like very unaffected.
So easy on the ear.
I mean,
it's like just so beautiful to listen to. It really is a pleasure to just sit and listen to it in headphones. It's just incredible.
Well, it's unique because while it is like synthetic sounding and like kind of has that element that like past futurism to it. Like I've been saying this a lot more than I thought I would. I can't think of anything else that really sounds like it. And it is a blend of those synthetic computerized sounds and like, very natural drums, like very like relatively sparse mix.
Yeah.
For what this is a 51-minute 8-song album with, ends with a multi-part epic, and it is not like it's not that jam-packed. You know, it's not Fleetwood Mac Rumors where it's like every little thing is overdubbed. Like it still, with the exception of the synths being added on top, it's believable as a band playing together in a room.
Yeah.
Which has always been Martin Birch's strength. Whereas Judas Priest Turbo, like, I'm not saying that they weren't, but you could tell me that those guys made that record without ever seeing each other's faces, and I wouldn't not believe you.
Mm-mm.
So in that way, it's a very different album for what it is, and and also for its reputation, because it has the reputation of being the keyboard album. And when you think of the keyboard album, you think of Turbo, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's why I kind of had this out, just to, you know.
You think of Sellout. But to me, this is anything but. If anything, this is like more following their own muse maybe than they have on the past couple of albums.
Yeah, it's amazing. That's why I said at the beginning when I showed all those records, just let's bear in mind when we, you know, nothing sounds like this that came out in that year at all.
I think it's as unique as Master of Puppets.
Right. Yeah.
Which because I also think that's the album where, yeah, it's like made of familiar parts, but like you cannot tell me there's another record that sounds like Master of Puppets.
Right. So what else has gone on? So they just come off the World Slavery Tour, right? Which was quite grueling. Bruce wasn't feeling too well. He had no
the impression is that he's just miserable. That's what he says. Mm-hmm. And that's the impression that the rest of the band gave out too.
Right.
He came off that tour, you know, I mean, it's a long tour, you know, something like 200 days or something like that. And then they're right back. I mean, I presume they took a few months off. I think I read that they had a few months off, and then they're back, you know, back to it.
Yeah.
You know, start the machine. And I mean, this shit is hard work, you know? Yeah. And there's a lot, you know, the further along you get on a trajectory like this, the more it's riding on it. He looks miserable here.
Yeah, and like no songwriting. You like that photo, right? It's favorite.
Well, this is you know, I'll just tell you. So the other thing about all the Blade Runner references, they rented these from a prop studio.
Right.
And these are screen used Blade Runner. This is the spinner from Blade Runner. And then this is a background car, I think. And they took them out into the desert. I want to say I do really like how Nico is dressed. He's wearing looks like a gray shirt from a gym with the sleeves rolled up, and then a bullet belt, and then boots and a Coke Is It hat.
I was
thinking that's a well-dressed man.
I was thinking of avoiding the clothes a little bit, but seeing as you brought it up,
they look better than they looked on
yeah,
man, everybody's shorts were short in 1986. I remember that.
This is the bonus single. Sorry, just fell out. There you go. But yeah, I think there's a poster in here that kind of I don't know if this is a photo that is available kind of anywhere else, but let's try and have a look at it. This is what you get with.
I have that on a button.
On a really? Really?
It's a you know, like maybe an inch and a half button. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the
yeah, Bruce's Japan underwear.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Bruce is bummed out, man, and he has no songwriting credits on this.
That's right.
Although I could have sworn that he collaborated on some of the lyrics, but maybe not.
Like he wanted to kind of do more acoustic stuff, right? He wanted to do like a Led Zeppelin, Physical Graffiti, and all of his ideas.
Yeah, Physical Graffiti and Jethro Tull were the reference points.
Could have been cool. Who knows?
For all the like feigned outrage about keyboards at the time. If these guys had come out with a bunch of acoustic guitars, I mean, their career would have been shot.
Yeah.
You know, I think we would be talking about it now and saying it's good, but in 1986, like, I mean, you know, like I said, Saturday morning cartoons, these guys they do have to deliver.
And they did.
It's like it's palpable that they're all like worn out and that they're all I mean they sound depressed. All the songs are pretty much about depression. Not super overtly, but like Caught Somewhere in Time is like not a happy song. Wasted Years is very obviously about being like road fatigued. Let's see what happens in Sea of Madness.
Yeah, let's get to that when we kind of run
through. They're all bummer songs though. It's a really good record though. I mean, like, I don't know, sometimes good art comes from like, you know, unhappiness or unrest.
Yeah.
So yeah, they made the record. Martin Birch does it again, I say.
Out of the park.
And it's really different. I don't think there's any other Birch record that sounds like this.
No. And then they didn't
I don't even have to. I know there's no other Birch record.
They didn't kind of go back to this style. That was it, and then they moved on.
I think Seventh Son feels like a sequel in a lot of ways.
Okay.
But there's pretty pronounced difference. I mean, for one thing, I don't think they really do much with the guitar synths on that. I think they just hired a keyboardist.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
So this is like special in that way too.
Yeah. Okay, Chris. Anything else you want to say before we get into the songs?
No, I think we beat it to death.
All right, we've got 8 songs, 4 on side A, 4 on side B. Let's kick it off. I mean, we did touch on it a little bit, but just that opening to Caught Somewhere in Time just sets the tone and the mood, the atmosphere. Oh man, it's just like, it's mournful, as you said, but futuristic, like emotional machinery. I don't know. It's just unbelievable.
You do feel that Blade Runner thing.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's like a movie, you know, that it's weird because it like wasn't well liked at the time at all, but you feel that, you know, that Blade Runner score where it's sort of like a mix of just like really somber and like really futuristic sounds.
Yeah, and then that tempo changed, which is just like a stroke of genius. Just you know, just shift tempo a little bit into the main groove. And I mentioned it a little bit before, but Gizm, MAN, to me, really sounds like little bits and pieces of this record. That cold, kind of clinical. They got the twin kind of leads. And I
came out the year after.
I'm pretty sure Randy Uchida was pretty influenced by the
well, he was really like cutting edge to the end, really. Yeah. And so I'm sure he heard this, and, you know, like I said, nothing quite sounds like this. And it wouldn't surprise me if that left a big impression. The second or third song on that LP has that, like,
that really kind of mournful, like, but like futuristic, but cold and emotional. I can't describe it, but really kind of unique. But the chorus of this is really kind of haunting too. Just, you know, that Somewhere in Time chorus, the way Bruce sings it.
If you go back on all the other, you know, so Aces High, Eagles Dare, Invaders, like, those are all like, I mean, even Invaders is about like invading Vikings, but it sounds very fun. It's the most fun version of that. This does not. I mean, this is very sad. It's very obvious.
Yeah. Beautiful. And it's long. It's pretty long opener, but it doesn't feel long at all. You know, it's 7 minutes.
What is it?
7:22.
7.5.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it though. Great opener.
They open with that on tour mostly.
Nice.
And I don't think it ever came back after that tour. We'll save that for the tour section.
Yeah, and then Here we go. Adrian Smith. Oh man, this song. Oh, hello.
Hello.
Oh man, you know, like this is a goosebumps every time for me. This song, especially the chorus, and like if I've had a few beers, tears tears may flow. Just such an emotional song. It's incredible. It's like it reminds me of Time by Pink Floyd. It gives me the same kind of,
Ah,
you know,
yeah. I mean,
getting old.
it's like a real. It might be after Number of the Beast. It could be their best known song at this point.
Mm,
Yeah, I mean, this is like some people, having some darkness in their
yeah,
lives.
yeah, and I kind of can relate to that. So it means a lot to me. But yeah, again, just they were still putting out the amazing artwork just for the singles. The unique artwork as well. But what an amazing song, poppy, but it's dark as well.
Well, I think this is an Adrian album. I mean, he
Mm,
has 3 songs on it,
yeah,
um, which isn't that's as much as he ever contributes, But 3 songs on a Maiden album is a decent chunk.
mm,
But I feel like his personality is really all over it because I think of this and maybe Moonchild are like the quintessential Adrian songs, and it's sort of like poppy but with a dark edge and
mm,
really like a very memorable like lick to start it off. And I feel like that sort of that poppiness, but also that like a little bit of coldness, like
yeah,
permeates the whole record.
yeah,
And so for like, even though Caught Somewhere in Time is a Steve Harris
mm,
composition, I still feel like you get some Adrian flavor in there. And this is the Adrian album to me.
yeah,
Um, and I guess, I mean, I'll point out now
mm.
the singles for this have a few different B-sides, and
Oh,
they're mostly songs that were pulled out of a side project called The Entire Population of Hackney that Nico and
mm,
Adrian were a part of. Adrian sang for it, kind
right,
of has some connection to Urchin. It
mm,
also has some connections to this band FM.
mm,
Um, I feel that those songs. So Adrian sings one of those songs. He actually sings "Reach Out," which is the B side on this. Um, but I feel that that those are almost like a demo, like almost like a backdoor demo for him to get a solo deal. Because I feel like he really steered those. Those were songs that were written by people that he was
right,
friends with. Um, and then he did put out a solo LP 3 years later that is relatively similar to those songs.
right.
So like just all of that together that makes this the Adrian album for me. And obviously the crown jewel is Wasted Years in that.
Yeah,
That's his song, and he sings the chorus now live very nicely.
yeah. He's a good singer. He's a good.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, which leads into another Adrian composition, Sea of Madness, and he does it again. He just has all these different moods, like in one song. They all work together like perfectly. It's kind of complex, but it's catchy and it's dark and it's heavy, but it's also kind of beautiful, a little bit menacing. And
I like that this song is a little bit happier sounding, but then it does have those pensive moments,
yeah,
especially that cool out section where it doesn't have the same mood as either of the first 2 songs. It's
mm,
not, so you're not like being, this album doesn't feel like you're being dragged down by like these people's unhappiness, but it does fit with the album. And I think that's difficult to do. That's not something a lot of people think about really, but it fits, but it has its own personality. It has its own sort of flow and story to the song.
yeah. It's Chris. I've sometimes critiqued the sequencing of some of the albums. I love the albums, but I've sometimes said, oh, I wish they hadn't put that song
Yeah,
here. But I think with this record, it just flows perfectly from start
it's
to
so
finish.
amazing
Yeah,
the way that it holds together.
it really is. You're right. Actually, that kind of slight mood change just lifts you out. You're right. It's perfect. It's perfectly positioned at track 3. Absolutely. And then Heaven Can Wait. See, I thought And maybe it is. I thought this is my like least favorite, maybe the weakest song on side A, and maybe it is. But I still love it. It's still a great song.
Well, this is a good song,
Yeah.
and I like that it's got the Brazilian soccer chorus in it.
Yeah, I'm not super keen on the chorus, but I'm okay with it. And it could have been a
Or I guess it's the bridge, the whoa.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, yeah.
That is made for the friends in South America.
But what they do when they come out of those whoa whoa whoas, there's some kind of really clean guitars underneath those, which kind of like I can focus on them when those woes are going on. Yeah, it's like there's a lot going on.
I mean, they do a little more with texture on this album, where there are some like clean guitars just ringing over some of the other stuff, and mixing with the synths, and I mean, dude, it all works. This is a kind of an unheralded masterpiece, actually.
And it's a nice way to finish side one. I didn't mention this yet too. No ballads, right? Pretty much on this record.
No, I mean, they're not really a ballad band too much, but even by Maiden standards, no.
No, right? And no really long, drawn out acoustic openings or passages. So, yeah.
Maybe the last track. Yes. I mean, the last track is the standard epic.
Yes.
But
yeah. So I mean, side one, going to be hard to top. Can they do it? Side two, the loneliness of the long distance runner. Now, you kind of expect a 20-minute epic with a title like that. You don't get it. You get like a 6.5-minute song. Now, the guitar synths on this song sound gorgeous, and I don't use the word gorgeous too often, but they really do. That's the only word I could think of. They just sound, I was going to say lush, but I don't really like that word, so I went with gorgeous. Yeah.
It's a great song. Yeah. It's a great, like, it really conveys that. I mean, it conveys the feeling of being lonely on the road, which most of these songs do, in one way or another.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole record's about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
single song. Sea of Madness, definitely. Loneliness, the long distance runner, definitely. Maybe not Heaven Can Wait, actually, but pretty much every other song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's an album cut, but it enhances the album perfectly.
Yeah, it's a great way to start off side two. We had, because Back in the Village, we were talking about that last time, right? I think this is a much better opening cut for side two than.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I like it. This is. I just think it's a more interesting song than Back in the Village.
Yeah, I think so too. And then he does it again, doesn't he, Mr. Smith? Stranger in a Strange Land. Got the.
I don't have that one. No. Sadly, do not have that. I love Cyborg Eddie in the Clint Eastwood Get Up.
Again, Derek Riggs knocks out the park again with a single artwork.
And then he said that they wanted Eddie in the Star Wars bar, so right. that's what the theme is there.
Just amazing. But what a song! I mean, it's the only song that doesn't have the guitar synths on it, right? This song, apparently.
Yeah, maybe not. Not really. No. I didn't even realize that.
Yeah.
It's a weird riff too. That da 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 da. It's kind of different for a Maiden. But yeah, I mean, again, obviously about being on tour. I mean, it's just, but I guess it also is just a song about like feeling lonely. Well, I guess a lot of these songs are about that.
Yeah, I mean, Stranger in a Strange Land kind of pretty much sums up. And also, I'm kind of messing about a little bit, but the chorus of like, no Brave New World. I think they should listen to themselves.
It sure is.
They should. Well, but it's there's a really good like promo video, just the live performance of this really nice promo video for this song. Yeah, amazing song. And then there's that little Led Zeppelin thing again with the Land of Ice and Snow in the lyric. They put that in there.
You know, it's weird they picked this as a single, actually.
Right? Yeah, it is a little bit actually. Yeah.
I don't really like. I have no idea why you would pick this as the single.
Right.
I mean, it's not like a singles, like a hits heavy album per se, but I kind of think you would go with well, Heaven Can Wait's long, but you could probably do a single edit of that.
Yeah.
Or you could go with the next song.
Well, this is like deep cut, right? A little bit like, track 3, side 2. So Harris and Murray, right? Composition.
You know what? One of my favorite Iron Maiden songs for
it's
a couple
amazing.
Reasons.
It is a deep cut because I didn't really. I mean, obviously I knew the song, but I didn't kind of pay too much attention to it until I started really doing my homework properly for this episode. Man, the guitar melodies in this song are just phenomenal.
Well, that's Dave Murray, Mike.
Yes.
And I love to see a Dave Murray writing credit. It just because you don't always get one. You know, it's special when you get them. And I also I love a song. This is fucking stupid. I love songs that just explain something to you. Like if you were like, deja vu, what is that? You could just be like, well, when you've been particular places that you know you've been before, can you be sure? You know, ever had a conversation that you realize you've had before? Isn't it strange?
I'm going to use that when one of my students asks me what does deja vu mean. I'm going to.
But you can. If someone does not know the concept of deja vu and you present them the lyrics of this song, they will read them and then understand what it is. It's a stupid thing, but I love when songs have that quality.
Yeah.
It's also a Dave Murray song, so I love it. It's also like it's a little bit faster and a little more frantic, and like that's exciting because it just picks up that pace again at the end, gets you psyched up for the end of the album. And like I always do like a short Iron Maiden song because it's easier for them to go long.
Yeah.
And so when they scrunch it all in a little bit, that's fun, man.
Yeah.
And this is a great song. I can't fucking believe they've never played this song on a stage.
It is unbelievable. And the next song too, right? They never played live.
That is a white whale for a lot of Iron Maiden fans, I think. Because this song is like Alexander the Great might be my favorite of the epics.
Right.
I don't know. I can't really say if it's better than Hallowed Be Thy Name. It's definitely not on that level classic wise. But this is such an incredible track.
It is, yeah.
I mean, this is Steve Harris at his best. And it's, you know, he worked his way up to this with you know, some of the longer tracks on Power Slave. But this is like such a perfectly crystallized vision. And I think it fits the theme of the album too, because as I was saying, I think hopefully I said it. I feel like Power Slave and World Slavery Tour is really like them like conquering all the king. You know, they're like this is a metaphor for that, right?
Yeah.
They are, you know, what's the quote? My son, ask thyself for another kingdom, for that which I leave is too small for thee. It's like they've conquered heavy metal. They've got out of the East End, and they have they're a big headline marquee act, and it turns out that they don't feel fulfilled by that at all.
Right. And
that's what the whole album is about, and that's what this song is about, except also about a Greek emperor or king.
Chris, I don't usually kind of look up individual songs, but I did for this episode, and I did for the next episode too. Actually, we'll get to that. But I came across like a 9-page discussion about the lyrics of this song and like
and how accurate they are.
is it factually, and the people are explaining no. So I just kind of gave up reading it, but I like to think of it as more of your take on it. It's about, it fits in with the rest of the album about time and being kind of lonely on tour and being unsatisfied with heavy metal, and it's just a metaphor, right, for all that kind of stuff.
I feel it is a metaphor for accomplishing everything you set out to do and not achieving fulfillment.
Yeah.
But it also is an amazing, epic, progressive heavy metal song. Everybody is playing at their best. Like Adrian and Dave's guitar solos are just like beautiful.
Yeah.
Steve's bass playing is, like everybody just sounds perfect. I can't believe they never played this on tour. If they played this on an upcoming tour, I think people would have heart attacks. It would be so good, especially now with a third guitar player. Like, are you kidding me?
Well, there's that thing, isn't there? Like when Bruce was asked, why don't you play? And he kind of joked, well, because Adrian can't remember the guitar solo. And that's become like the standard kind of reason. But
that sounds like a joke.
Yeah, it's a joke, yeah, but it's kind of became like fact now. Whereas it's an off the cuff comment that he made in one interview has kind of became like, that's why they don't play it. So
dude, For the Greater Good of God is like 100 minutes long. And they played that fucking thing, and they're gonna play it again in 2022. This song is under 9 minutes. Just do it. Just fucking do it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it doesn't make sense why they don't do this and they do those other long ones from the future. They haven't.
It's so theatrical. This would perfectly fit live. I think it's probably a really demanding song for all parties. I'm sure even in the 80s when these guys were young, it would have been hard to sing, hard to play, hard to pull off. And I think also at the time, like Rime of the Ancient Mariner was sort of like the established, like, this is the centerpiece. Okay. We don't need to get rid of this. We don't need to do a new one every time. And then when they, spoiler, when they get to the Seventh Son era, they do play the song Seventh Son, which is the epic on that album.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. I would rather hear this than Rime of the Ancient Mariner in a live situation, for sure.
I would as well. I think Rime of the Ancient Mariner might be a little less demanding. You'd have to ask the boys, but
I will next time I see him down the in arms.
Yeah. Yeah. But I mean, what a way to close a record, man.
It is. It's perfect. It's the album's like kept my attention and more like through the whole thing. It's just I'm not going to give away the score yet, but it's beautiful. It's a beautiful record. I love it. And I think people were not expecting me to say that. So I hope everyone out there is kind of like happy that I like this record.
Well, I know you have taste, so
I think I do. Chris, I think we kind of touched on the touring side of it a bit right as we went through. So do we need to look at the set list and stuff for the tours, or do you want to do that?
Well, you know what? I'm going to point out what songs they played off the album.
All right, go ahead, man.
They did Somewhere in Time, Sea of Madness, Stranger in a Strange Land, Wasted Years, Heaven Can Wait. That should be it. They also, this, I think, is the only tour where Adrian and Dave had a dedicated guitar solo section.
Oh, okay.
And they did it in unison because at this point the Maiden solo thing was so, the harmonized solo thing was such an entrenched part of the reputation that they did the solo together.
That's a nice. I didn't know that. That's interesting.
They called the solo "Walking on Glass," which I assume it refers to how like annoying it must be to have to do the solo with the other guy. You can fuck that up really easy. It started and it was kind of like a variation on the Phantom of the Opera dual solo section, but then they would play. Do you remember? I think you're the right age. There was a cartoon that was very popular in the United Kingdom called The Snowman.
Oh.
And there's this song, We're Walking on the Air.
Oh man, yeah. You know what? I'm gonna veer off a little bit. You know what reminded me of that Kate Bush album, 50 Words to Snow?
Yep.
When I heard that, I was oh my god, it sounds like fucking Snowman. It's like anyway, yeah. So
they would play that theme as the solo.
Ooh, I don't think I like
every
that.
night.
Really?
It sounds like Maiden when they do it.
Oh man.
But it's a super bizarre, like, why? Well, someone told me that song was like a #1 single, like Christmas song single in the UK. So it makes a little more sense.
Man, it was sung by a little boy called Ali Jones, I think his name was, and I used to be sick because he used to be on the telly all the time. This little kid, and he was sickly, and I hated him. But thanks for reminding me.
I think it's justified to say, in some ways, Iron Maiden had lost their edge by 1986. I don't think you'd see them do that with Paul.
All right.
But that's a fun fact about the Somewhere in Time tour. They also did not professionally film that tour, which is a shame because there is some live, but there's a Paris show that you can see that has decent soundboard sound and multi-camera angles. And Bruce has like some weird spandex suit with all these light up components. It's very like meant to look futuristic.
Teenage Mutant Hero Turtle suit. Oh, that one, right?
It is a bit like that actually. And it's got, they've got like it looks futuristic. It's a cool looking stage set.
A pretty blouse underneath.
No, it's more. He looks more like a superhero or something. I don't know. You'll have to look it up.
He is in a way. Yeah.
It's a pretty good tour, but you can tell it might be the first time where they're playing that many songs off the new album where people are like, I don't know. I don't really think this record went over like Power Slave went over. I think because if you're 13, it's kind of a bummer, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not to me. I think it's a beautiful piece of art, but
absolutely, it might have sounded like a little bit old-fashioned. But we've got Slayer and Metallica and Megadeth and Flotsam and Jetsam.
I think that too. So Power Slave is sort of like them, sort of plateauing in some ways, like in terms of like what's cutting edge, what's popular, and this is like the first record to come out since like heavy metal has kind of like moved on in a lot of ways. Like the poppy stuff is more poppy, the heavy stuff is more heavy, the progressive stuff is more progressive. You had that Queensryche album out, and their next album, they're almost like in competition with Queensryche.
I'm looking forward to talking about that.
I will probably talk about that a lot because that's really like the backstory on that album. And so this is like the first time, like they're still big, but they're not, like I say, they haven't like gone to greater heights since Power Slave. They're just sort of plateaued.
All right, is it that time we give it a score?
Yeah.
All right, I'm gonna give it 9 out of 10. Just because there's other ones that I'm going to give another one I'm going to give maybe a higher score to. So perhaps we'll see. So
I was going to give it a 9 out of 10, but talking about it now, I'm like
9.5.
Is it a 9.5?
I want to give it a 10 actually. Fuck it, I'm gonna give it a 10. It's my show.
Good for you.
I'm gonna give it a 10. It's like I've been playing this to death, and it hasn't been a chore. It's been a absolute pleasure.
What did I give Peace of Mind?
I don't think we should worry about what we gave other records. It's no.
I guess it's a 10. I can't think of anything bad about it.
It's a 20 out of 10.
I can't say a single bad thing about this record.
We did not say anything. Think about it. We didn't say anything bad about it, except maybe I don't like the woes, and this might be the worst song on the side one.
I'm okay with the woes. It has to be a 10 then. I literally have not shut up about it for an hour.
We weren't sarcastic. We didn't say anything cheeky about it. We loved it. So it must deserve it.
Even the picture. We like the picture.
Everything's cool.
We love Somewhere in Time.
Yeah. Everybody, what do you think of Somewhere in Time? Let us know in the comments. And thanks for everyone who's watching. We've got a really kind of like loyal, hardcore base of people now who tune in every Monday, and they really look forward to it. So thanks to Horace in Grimsby for tuning in every Monday.
That's a real place, Grimsby?
Grimsby is a real place in the north of England. Yeah.
You guys got it all there.
Okay, Chris, let's wrap this up. Fantastic record, great episode. Everyone, thanks for watching. Next time, people are really looking forward to this one. They're really keen about what we're going to say about the Blaze Bailey era. So next time, we're going to be going deep into virtual
11. I call it XI, but it's
XI
11.
or virtual 11. So until next time, stay healthy and stay